Welcome back to the Chad AC Show, News Talk KFYO. Thank you for tuning in today. Joining us on the phones right now, always a pleasure to visit with our next guest, the Director of Strategic Communications for the Trump 2020 campaign. It's Marc Lauder. Marc, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chad. How are you?
Doing fantastic. It's we've got, less now than 2 months until Election Day. How do you think everything's looking for Team Trump right now?
Well, things are all trending in the right direction, and that's the positive thing. I think as more and more people look to see how out of touch with just mainstream American values Joe Biden is, whether it's on the economy and $4 trillion in taxes or war on energy or even calling police the enemy. I mean, it just doesn't line up with what America believes, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've seen a huge surge in the polls for the president.
Well, you've seen a huge surge in the polls. You've also seen quite a few missteps, I think, from the BidenHarris ticket, including Kamala Harris coming out. I had no idea she was against vaccines. Now, apparently, you cannot trust President Trump to come up with a vaccine, according to Kamala Harris, which, to me, that's pretty dangerous language to start using, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely dangerous. In fact, it's just irresponsible. And, where is the media outrage? Where is the restless 24-hour-a-day coverage of how Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are undermining people's trust and credibility in our government institutions? Because every time the president questions something, all you hear is that. But, when you literally have the vice presidential nominee talking about she won't believe the vaccine if it comes out under the Trump administration, it's just reckless. Yeah. And yet you hear nothing from them. And it's really just it just shows you that there are two levels, that there are two standards going on here in America, and all of them are against this president.
Well, it goes back to something that I said a while ago, which was, if you thought the media was nice to Obama, you ain't seen anything yet, because you have Joe Biden, who refuses to take questions. Even Harris really refuses to take questions most of the time from the media. If the president were to do that, I mean, he would just be butchered even more so than he is in the media. And they don't say a word about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just ignoring questions from the media. And I guess they have to cover for them, because here in 20 days there's going to be a debate, and I think there's going to be some exposure of Team Biden.
Well, you're absolutely right, but I think there's already that exposure going on. I mean, and while you see the president going out to campaign across America, you've seen him in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, he's in North Carolina, in Arizona, he's going to Nevada and Minnesota. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, the only reason why he's coming out of the basement is because he sees that the polls are cratering from him. In fact, I'm standing on the airport tarmac right now in Pittsburgh, waiting for Air Force Two to arrive here shortly with the vice president, where he's doing a bus tour today across western Pennsylvania.
What is you've been on the road for so many of these events that either the vice president has had or the president has had. How do you view the support level, the enthusiasm level for the president versus what we see for Biden right now?
Well, I mean, I often joke Joe Biden couldn't fill a socially distanced Waffle House right now, but we're not seeing that on the campaign trail with the president and the vice president. You see hundreds, if not thousands, of people everywhere they go. You see that the roads are lined with Trump-Pence signs across much of America, and that's because there's a lot of energy out there to vote for this president. And I think that's going to translate into votes on Election Day, and we got to make sure we get everyone possible, because we've got to have a big enough margin. The Democrats can't cheat and steal this election away from President Trump. And the only way we can do that is making sure that everybody who supports this president gets out there and votes.
Yeah, I keep seeing these headlines that pop up from time to time that the president may win Election Day, but with mail-in ballots, Biden could win a week later or whatever that may be. When you see headlines like that pop up, what does that mean to you? What does that mean for, Team Trump as far as making sure that every single Republican gets out there to vote? How do you even energize the base even more so?
Well, I think it's helping us energize the base because they realize how important this election is. I mean, let's not forget, the president only lost New Hampshire by about 2,400 votes in 2016. He won places like Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin by a combined total of 70,000 votes. So if you don't think your vote counts, you're just not paying attention, which means it's doubly important that you make sure you get out there and vote, whether it's absentee balloting or on Election Day. Make sure your vote is made and make sure it's counted.
Yeah, absolutely. Marc Lauder with the Trump 2020 campaign. Always appreciate your time, Director of Strategic Communications. I'm sure we'll visit again before Election Day, and we wish you the best of luck out there with the today out in Pennsylvania and wherever else you may be heading.
Good talk to you, Chad.
Thank you. That's Marc Lauder with the Trump 2020 campaign. Always a pleasure to get an update from him on how things are going out on the road with the Trump campaign for 2020. And listen, he's exactly right. It's one of those where everybody's got to get out and vote. And, if you think this is going to be, it doesn't really matter. If you think it's going to be a landslide election, and I do hear that from some people where they think it's going to be a landslide, it's going to be a big, act like it's not going to be. Act like this is going to be the closest election that we've ever had. That's how you're going to have to treat this. Act like Texas is in play. What's the downside of acting like Texas is in play? Get out there and vote. It's going to be so important because when I do see these headlines pop up, I mean, it really is riding what the Democrats want to happen, that Trump may win on election night. That on election, Trump may win. I saw this one. Trump may win big on election night, but a week later he could lose. And what the Democrats are planning is for that exact scenario to play out, that Trump's going to be big. He's going to be up big on election night, but the networks and the AP and all, they're going to refuse to say Trump's the winner. They're going to say, we've got to wait a week. We've got to wait 2 weeks. We've got to make sure that all of these ballots that may be out there, whether they're out there or not. Listen, I want every vote counted. But we know that Democrats are going to, they're going to be up to some games. Let's just say that.